Welcome to the regular council meeting, Tuesday, January 21st at 4:40 p.m. in council chambers. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on the traditional territory of the Algonquin peoples, including the Beaver House First Nation, the unceded territory of other Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, and Métis people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Call to order in a moment of silence. Approval of the agenda. May I have a mover? Shaba and Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, January 21st, 2025 be approved as circulated. And finally, that section 33 of procedural bylaw 1575 as amended be lifted for matters noted under section 4, petitions and delegations only, to relax the rules on discussions between members and the public, and to also allow administration to openly participate in a discussion where required.
All in favor? And opposed? Motion carries. Declaration of pecuniary interest.
Yes, to Madam Mayor, I do have one. I will read it. Ready? I, like Shaba, declaring indirect pecuniary interest on the agenda of the meeting dated January 21st, 2025. An open meeting, agenda item number 6.5, agenda title 2025-GEV002, cancellation of land sale transaction with Chart Technologies Limited. It is indirect. I'm a shareholder, director, and officer of a private corporation. I have a controlling interest in that private corporation, and I'm a member, I'm a partner or employee of a personal body with a pecuniary interest. The nature of my interests as follows. My engineering firm did some work on this project for Chart Technologies, where I fixed my name and my signature.
Thank you, Councillor Shaba. Any others? Petitions and delegations. I'm happy to say that we have a delegation tonight. We have the Northeast Public Health Temiskaming District Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan update with Jeff Manners, CSWB Coordinator, Health Promoter. May I have a mover? Councillor Dykens and Councillor Owens.
Yep, be resolved that council receive the delegation entitled Northeast Public Health Temiskaming District Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan update for information.
Welcome, Jeff. Come on up to the hot seat.
Thank you very much for having me this evening. So I'm going to give a bit of a rundown of what the CSWB plan is all about, and a brief little update, and we'll have some time for questions if we have any. Next slide. So as part of provincial legislation enacted in 2019, municipalities were required to develop and adopt CSWB plans, working in partnership with a multi-sectoral advisory committee comprised of representation from the Police Service Board and other local service providers in health and mental health, education, community and social services, and children and youth services. This approach allows municipalities to take a leadership role in defining and addressing priority risks in the community through proactive, integrated strategies that ensure vulnerable populations receive the help they need from the providers best suited to support them. Temiskaming's CSWB plan was developed in 2021 in response to provincial legislation requiring every municipality in Ontario to develop such a plan. Its development was led by Temiskaming DSAB on behalf of the 23 municipalities in Temiskaming, plus the municipality of Temagami. Move to the next slide. The plan was developed by a consultant, overseen by a local steering committee, and supported by a local advisory committee. So the advisory committee is in this slide that you see here. In the next slide, this is the committee that was in charge of the development. The next slide. So the CSWB plan is a district-wide plan that identifies a shared set of priorities and opportunities for action related to community safety and well-being. It is a highly collaborative living document that is designed to improve the coordination of services, information sharing, advocacy, and partnerships, and ultimately the quality of life of Timiskaming District residents. Next slide. So this is the Ontario model for CSWB planning framework. So in the plan, the priority actions fall within the 4 levels of intervention: social development, prevention, risk intervention, and incident response. For all the work we are doing, we try to address issues where they are occurring, while also trying to address the root cause. So the plan outlines 6 priorities: health and well-being, housing, employment and economy, poverty, community safety, and environment and sustainability. For each of these, possible areas for action were also identified. So last year, during the launch of the plan, a vote was taken to determine which 3 priority areas would be focused on. The 3 that were chosen were, next slide, health and well-being, housing, which developed into housing and homelessness, and community safety. Next slide. So the CSWB itself is not an organization, but a collective who are working together to coordinate change in the district. Change that is in many cases made by others who may not even be directly involved in the governance structure. To help us along, we've adopted a model called collective impact, seen here. We have identified a common agenda for change, the CSWB plan. We are in the process of developing shared measurement for data and results. We try to implement or encourage others to implement activities that help the plan move forward. We have a governance structure and continue to develop communications that encourage us all to stay connected and informed. And we have a backbone organization that supports coordination, which is the Northeastern Public Health. After DSAP coordinated the development of the plan, the Timiskaming Health Unit, now known as NEF, stepped into the role of backbone agency. This includes hosting me, the CSWB coordinator, to which all municipalities have contributed. NEF is also hosting a web page dedicated to the CSWB implementation. My role includes handling communications and planning tasks, facilitating working groups, monitoring and reporting on the progress of the CSWB plan, and implementing initiatives developed by the work groups. Next slide. This slide reflects how we've structured ourselves to support working as a whole community on implementing the priorities of the CSWB. We have our steering committee, we have working groups that each address a priority area, a coordinator to help us keep us organized, and a host agency that offers their support. Next slide. So over the last year, many milestones and accomplishments have been reached. We established our district-wide municipal commitment to collaborative implementation of this Timiskaming CSWB plan with all 24 municipalities. NEF committed to acting as the backbone organization and recruited a full-time project coordinator. The CSWB plan in Timiskaming was launched a little over a year ago now, in September of 2023, and identified priorities for action. We established a steering committee, developed terms of reference, and have met monthly ever since. We established 3 working groups, developed work plans, and they have met regularly since. Slide. Can go one more, I believe.
Sorry.
No, sorry, you were right. I joined the Ontario Municipal Social Services Association's network of CSWB coordinators in Ontario. We developed a partnership with the Timiskaming Foundation to link the 2024 Timiskaming Vital Signs report to the plan. We launched a media release announcing the plan's implementation, created and shared a 6-month progress report with CSWB partners and media. We presented about the plan to various groups such as the Temiskaming District Road Safety Coalition, the Temiskaming Stay on Your Feet Coalition, and the Temiskaming District Violence Against Women Coordinating Committee, and continue these presentations now. We developed a logo and a Facebook page and released the first edition of a quarterly newsletter to update our partners on our progress. And we hosted 2 delegations to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference, advocating for provincial support for the plan implementation, and provided a backgrounder to the Rural Ontario Municipal Association to inform their advocacy efforts on this topic. Next slide. In addition, our many partners have come together to be part of our working groups and have had an impact on reaching our work plan goals. We continue to collaborate and move forward together. And last slide. Thank you very much for your time. If there are any questions, I can take them now.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was a very informative presentation. Do we have any questions from council members? Councillor Owens.
Through you, Madam Acting Mayor. With the merger of the host agency, are the well-being plan for Porcupine and Temiskaming going to merge as well, or are they going to stay separate?
I believe the plans, so Timmins has their own CSWB plan. And as far as I know, there will be no merging of the plans because NEF is simply the host organization. The plan is really developed with multiple partners and within the municipality, municipalities that represent the district of Temiskaming. So we're going to retain our own CSWB plan. Timmins will keep theirs.
Councillor Shabbat.
Yeah, to Madam Acting Mayor, thank you very much. Jeff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is all about helping people at the end of the day, people in our district. How do you guys help facilitate helping new people coming into our area that not really aware of some of these things? How do you guys able to at least coordinate help for new people coming to our area?
Absolutely. So very specifically in Kirkland Lake, the Kirkland Lake Multicultural Center is part of our steering committee. And they're very active within the CSWB. So and we continuously support them in any initiatives that they have to help any newcomers to the area. We also have been connecting with One Light in Temiskaming Shores area. So yeah, it's very important to us to make sure that anybody coming into the area, new to the area, is aware of what can be offered to them.
Councillor Owen.
Yes, so you acting mayor, I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, do you have any projects specific to Kirkland Lake that are happening right now?
So it's hard to say yes or no because the CSWB, again, is not really, we're not an entity, we're a collaborative. So initiatives that Kirkland Lake has, we support and promote. Our working groups, the goals that have been put out in our working groups would then be sent and applied to all of our municipalities equally. So to say we specifically have something for Kirkland Lake, any initiatives that we are supporting are promoted to all of the municipalities to help to improve every municipality that is part of the Temiskaming district.
Follow up?
Follow up, yeah. Now, we all know the province is famous for mandating certain things that have to be done, and also just as famous for not providing funding to do these things. What is the long-term funding for this group?
As of right now, there is none. We are, and that was part of our connection with the the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. That was part of advocacy for support from the province. We're always advocating to the province for funding for this. If they've deemed it to be important enough to mandate, we believe it should be important enough to allocate funding to. While we wait for that to come through, we continue to apply for any funding that we can find that we can, so either supporting municipalities who are looking to have initiatives in their area. We will support them with letters of support for funding that they're applying for, or we will apply for funding through the CSWB that will then disperse throughout the municipalities for whatever projects might be needed for. But yes, I agree, they're very famous for doing exactly what you said.
Councillor Kylie.
Through you, Acting Mayor. So does that mean basically you're refunded your wages for this year, 2025?
Yes. So the commitment was made, I believe the commitments are made for 2 years in a row. And the funding, each municipality pays a portion depending on population and land area and all of those different types of things. And that goes to pay my salary as the coordinator, and whatever is left over, it goes to support working groups and whatnot. So, but the goal ultimately is that we really would like to obtain some other funding so that the municipalities aren't fully relied on for the funding, or at least, just maybe partially.
Thank you.
Councillor Owen.
Yes, to you, Mayor. Right now, I'm sitting here as a Kirk Lake councillor, so I'm representing the residents of Kirk Lake. And from what you've said, it appears to me that the province mandated this, but the primary funding is coming from the municipalities. And there's no long-term plan to continue this. And while we may benefit from the plan, it's very hard to measure whether we do or whether we don't. There doesn't seem to be a plan to keep this thing going. Is that right?
So, I mean, the plan to keep it going is to continue with municipal funding unless other funding becomes available. I know it's not a great solution, but again, as you said, when something is mandated from the government, it has to be done. So what we're hoping is that the benefits of having the plan in place and having the structure that we have will outweigh the costs. As for the measurement piece, I think it's a good thing that public health is involved in the plan, because public health has always been really good with measurement. So as we proceed with the plan and as we work towards our goals in the working groups, we're also taking data, so that eventually we will develop a data dashboard that will show progress in numbers.
Follow up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's just an explanation. I am not attacking the program.
Yeah, no.
I often ask questions at public meetings, so things are said on the record. And basically what I wanted said on the record today was the province mandated it and it's being downloaded to the municipalities to pay for it.
Yes,
And I think that's important that's brought up at public meetings and recorded as such.
it's not the first municipality it was mentioned at, so, I thank you for that.
CEO Alan Smith is on the line and would like to speak.
Through acting mayor to members of council. With respect to funding, I did bring to the attention that we have undertaken joint delegations with the city of Temiskaming Shores regarding trying to get funding for this plan. We really recognize that this has been difficult to the municipalities and funding is very difficult to get. So we have brought this to the attention of the Solicitor General and actually probably about 3 times now. And they still haven't come up with regular funding for this particular program. But we'll keep on trying. And again, we have worked closely with our partners in this and trying to address this funding issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shallow.
Yeah, through you, Madam Acting Mayor, that I was just gonna ask about the funding, that I'm not aware of the fact that we're funding you guys directly, but I thought maybe we're funding you through DSAP. So, if the CEO can answer this, are we funding them directly or through another agency?
Through
We're funding.
Mayor. I'm just trying to recall. Actually, I think it's. I know we do have an agreement. I'm just trying to remember who that's through, but it might be through the health unit. Maybe that can, if maybe Dan, if you have any more information on that one.
Kim Clockers has now joined us at the table.
Kim there, great. Okay, thank you.
Through you, acting mayor. So the municipality does pay the cost. We have a 2-year commitment, and it is into allotments, into installments. So I think it's between 18,000 and 25,000 for this upcoming budget year toward the community safety and wellbeing plan.
Through you, Madam Acting Mayor, just so that members of council are able to recollect, this was brought forward to you in the fall of 2024. There was an initial agreement with when the community safety and wellbeing plan was struck, and then a supplemental agreement for the 2-year term was presented last fall. It was approved by council for the 2-year term.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Clockers. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for your presentation. We very much appreciate it and for taking our questions today.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Does council wish that I have the clerk reread the resolution, or are we good?
Good.
All in favor? No opposed? Motion carries. Acceptance of minutes and recommendations. Can I have a mover? Councillor Owen and Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the regular meeting of council held January 14th, 2024.
All in favor? No opposed? Motion carries. Reports of municipal officers and communications, 6.1. KPIs update 2024 Q4, Stephanie Dell, Strategic Initiatives and Workplace Performance Coordinator. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Owen. Councillor Shava.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 CAO 002 entitled OKPIs Update 2024 Q4 be received.
Okay, Stephanie. Thank you. Through you, acting mayor. This is our Q4 update for 2024. As previously mentioned, the metrics sometimes change depending on the priorities of divisions. For example, you'll notice in the attachment 1 this time, there are 2 graphs for each statistic, and that's to showcase the comparison from Q3 versus quarter four as a whole. And then the second one is a monthly breakdown for quarter four. And I do have two updates, for the attachment. On page 3 of attachment 1 for community services, the ice rental hours, have been updated, for a total of 541 for quarter four, 175 for October, 215 for November, and 151 for December. And the treasurer is here to speak to a change in the number for tax receivable for December. The number should be 3632685, which is on there. On page 34 of attachment 1. So if there's questions related to those, Lloyd Crawford, the treasurer, is here to speak to that, and any other questions related to any of the data presented in attachment 1. Directors are here for specific questions.
Any questions from council?
Yeah.
Councilor Shabba?
To, Madam Mayor, that was just been my question about the ice rental hours.
Yes.
I was just talking to, this councilor beside me, why is 0 in December and November? So do we have that update? Does,
No, it was
that
updated,
sent to
just
us?
updated.
She just verbally gave us the
Okay,
update.
then nothing attached to this, okay. So my second question was, so on page 3, and I will take it that, under market vendor registrants, that probably be our market over at Civic, that's the end of that, so that would be that, right?
Through you, acting mayor, yes, that would be for our food market in the summer, so it is closed in.
Okay, all right.
Questions from any other councilors? No other questions? Okay, do I need to have the resolution reread, or are we good? Okay, all in favor? Motion passes. 6.2, thank you, Stefan, thank you. 6.2, borrowing authority for current expenditures, Lloyd Crocker, treasurer, moved by, I need a counselor. Riley and Counselor Owens.
Be it resolved, that report number 2025 Corp 004 entitled Borrowing Authority for Current Expenditures be received. And finally, that the bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on February 4th, 2025.
Acting Mayor, you have the report in front of you. This is essentially the exact same report you see most years. It's not that we need to borrow any money this year, but you never really know where things can play out. We like to keep this thing in the books. It's required if we're going to borrow. It's typically hasn't been used in the last, well, many years. The scenario where we might use it is if we got into a very large capital project and the funding often takes some time between the time that you're spending and the time you get money back from whoever's funding the project. So that's the most common scenario where we may be borrowing. You can see we've only put $4 million in here. In theory, we could go as high as 6 based on our tax revenue. But we didn't envision any scenario where we need more than 4. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, treasurer. I appreciate that clarification, and it saved me from asking that out loud.
Sure.
Any questions from council? Councilor Bacon.
To you, Madam Acting Chair, to the treasurer. Can you remind us, like, if there is a need for it, does it still get reported to council? Like, I know you have to, if you have to pay, you have to pay, but,
Acting to council, it would certainly be reported to council. The bylaw would authorize us to go and draw down the debt when we needed it. But I would I can guarantee you, if we come back to council as a report, that we actually did draw down on the debt. I don't believe it requires your approval at that point. It just requires the information to get back to you that we used it.
So
Counselor Kylie.
basic, through you, your worship, basically it's a standby operating line, which we've never used, but it's available if we do need it.
Yeah, for you, acting mayor.
Yeah.
That's exactly, it's like a line of credit. If you were to draw a parallel to it, we would draw it if we needed it.
Yeah.
We're certainly very healthy right now for cash, so we're not anticipating the problem at all.
Counselor Shabbat.
Yeah, to Madam Acting Mayor. So this is, as you indicated, line of credit. So what interest rate are we paying on this? Yeah. Do you have any
Through
idea?
acting mayor, I wouldn't know at this point until we actually draw it down. You wouldn't have a locked-in rate.
Oh, I see.
You know, we tend to attract the better interest rates, I guess, if you're concerned about that. But right now, I couldn't tell you what that rate is. We don't lock it in, being a more like a line of credit where we would draw when we needed. So I don't have a proper answer for that, a number anyways.
Counselor Kylie.
Yeah, through you, your worship. You're right. In my 10 years on council, we've never used it,
Mhm.
but it's there for emergency purposes more than anything. If there's a shortfall in the cash flow.
Through that acting mayor, it's a stopgap temporary measure if you ever got in that scenario where we weren't collecting taxes to, sufficiently fund our normal operations. Like I said, the scenario that I envision, which could happen, would be a very large capital project, drawing down our cash quickly and not getting the money back from, whoever's funding it in a timely manner.
Any other questions? Do we need to have the resolution read? Okay. All in favor? None opposed, motion carries. 6.3, thank you, Lloyd. 6.3, benefits policy update, non-union employees. Sean LaCarte, Director of Corporate Services. Can I get a mover? Counselor Shaba and Counselor Owens.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 Corp 005 entitled Benefits Policy Update Non-Union Employees be received. That council approve the benefits policy non-union employees as amended and presented. And finally, that the benefits policy non-union employees as amended be inserted into the corporate policy manual.
Thank you, Acting Madam Mayor, and through you to council. Tonight I have a report here to council with recommended changes to the existing benefit policy. As you know, on January 24, 2024, we approved a new benefit policy for non-union employees. At that time, we also, or just after that, we repealed a bylaw that basically had us following QP 26 collective agreement. Due to an oversight, we didn't notice that the 50% discount that was allowed for complex memberships was not moved forward on there, so we kind of lost the authority for that. So today we're looking to put that back into our benefit policy. Recently there was an increase approved to 75% for one of the local unions, and we'd like to also follow that collective agreement and add it to non-union. And administration also thought it would be good to recommend a 25% subject to part-time non-union employees as well. So that would be new to this. It should be just remind you that the 50% did actually still stay in place over the year. We're looking for housekeeping to put it back in the benefit policy. So we are looking to increase to 75%. The financial considerations are minimal. There's not that many non-union right now using the discount. We're hoping with the increase that might change and get some more employees for that use. So given that the authority must be reinstated, administrative identifies the upcoming policy to include subsidized membership for 25% for part-time and 75% for non-union. This will help us demonstrate our commitment to fairness, employee wellness, and becoming the employer of choice. So the administration does recommend that we approve the proposed amendments to the benefit policy, and I'm here to answer any questions. Have any?
Questions from council? Councillor Shava.
Yeah, thank you very much to you, Madam Acting Mayor. I have no problem to the increase, but when you indicate the minimal financial impact, and there must be a number to that. 10,000, 15,000, I mean.
It's less than $1,000. There's not that many non-union employees at this point that use the discount, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Does anybody need to hear the resolution? Okay, all in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Sean. 6.4, request for contract extension of land use planning services, Dan Lavador, Director of Development and Enterprise Services. May I have a mover? Councillor Kylie. And seconder? Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 DEV 001 entitled Request for Contract Extension of Land Use Planning Services be received, and that council approves the extension of a contract with JL Richards and Associates Limited as presented, and that council approve the proposal as presented by JL Richards and Associates Limited to review and update the town's official plan in the sum of $63,867.55 plus HST to be committed in the Development and Enterprise Services portion of the 2025 operating budget, and that council approve the proposal as presented by JL Richards and Associates Limited to update the town's community improvement plan in the sum of $27,856.32 plus HST to be committed in the Development and Enterprise Services portion of the 2025 operating budget, and that the mayor and municipal clerk be authorized to execute the contract and services extension agreement as presented, together with any subsidiary documents in relation to the planning consultancy services as may be required, and finally that an execution bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on February 4th, 2025.
Evening, acting Madam Mayor, through you to the rest of council. The report I have before you is to extend our contract as a recommendation followed with JL Richards for planning services for the town. As you can see from my report before you, the 2 major items being completed in 2025 are the legislative responsibility of an updated official plan review and our update of the CIP. Both these projects outlined are extensive and require the services of JL Richards. JL Richards has been under contract with the town since 2023. This extension would allow the planning division to accomplish what was set out in 2024, but after staff absences were unable to complete. As you can see from our report, the planning services for JL Richards in 2023 was to alleviate the pressures in the planning division for other staff changes. And this year for 2025 proposed, these 2 projects will be make up the bulk of the required services of JL Richards. I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Councillor Kylie.
Through you, your worship, how does this contract work? Is it paid for usage or is it a flat rate for the year?
Yeah, through you, acting mayor, to Councillor Kylie. The 2 major projects, we did get a proposal on. The rest of them is a fee based on project and requirements that we need. So if we are to reach out to them on projects outside of these 2 projects that are proposed, let's say for a policy update for a site plan control agreement, it does go by their rate, which is in your package.
Counselor Owen.
Yes, through you, acting mayor. I'm getting concerned about the amount of money that we're spending on consultants. And I guess my questions on this one have to do with the town's community improvement plan, which we already have in place. I would think that we should be able to do that in-house. We've already got a major framework in place. So we're just adapting and changing something that's already there. And I'm not sure that it's wise of us to spend almost $28,000 in consulting fees that the ratepayers will have to pay. I'd rather see it take a little bit longer to come to fruition and be done in-house and save the $28,000. Now, I don't work in the department, obviously. So I'm looking forward to your response because I could be just blowing smoke out my ears. I don't know.
Through you, acting mayor, thank you for that. One thing, and I know that CAO Smith is on the line as well this evening. Both the OP review and the CIP both need ministerial approval. That isn't a resource that we have in-house to be able to update something of this nature. There are some areas based in our economic development strategic plan outlined a need for an update. There are a lot of areas in our CIP that we are not offering that we could be offering businesses within Kirkland Lake. Our current CIP is very restrictive in geographic area. And the mapping that's involved that we can do in-house. There are areas of opening it up to the entire town that are going to have some complexities to them. So that is why before you, we have the updated CIP quote.
Follow up?
Yes, so through you, acting mayor. So we will be looking, because I have had a complaint from a businessman who spent a considerable amount of money upgrading his building. But he was just outside our current CIP, and it really was unfair. Because the difference of what his building looked like then and now is a real improvement to our streetscape. But if he'd been one block further along, he could have got 5,000 or whatever our maximum payment was. And I'm sure he's probably spent in excess of $50,000 when over a period of 2 or 3 years. So I'm glad to see that we will be looking at expanding the boundaries.
Before we go any further, can we, Dan, if you could share with the public the acronyms that you keep using so that they can understand what we're talking about?
So through you, acting mayor, the CIP is a community improvement plan. So that is several outlined areas that businesses can take advantage of funding through the town for items such as renovations, facade improvements, tax, first year's tax, and several other areas. In the economic development and tourism strategic plan, it outlined some other areas that we could take advantage of, such as residential units in commercial buildings, and some other areas that some more progressive thinking municipalities have undertaken with great success. The second one is I refer to an OP, so that's our official plan review. So that's an extensive document that is filed with the ministry to outline our planning functions and objectives.
Councillor Jenkins.
To you, Madam Acting Chair, that's a mouthful. To the director, you mentioned that both of those projects, for lack of a better word, the official plan review and the community improvement plan work requires ministry approval. How often is that required?
Yeah, through you, acting mayor. to Counselor. The official plan review, the review is done every 5 years. And the CIP doesn't carry a large, like a ministerial date for a review, but the CIP has changed a lot over time. And the CIP that we're working with here in the town right now is dated.
Sure, I can do something I would like.
Yes, please.
Okay, so through the chair to all of council, there is a large official plan update that's done every 10 years. So that would require ministerial approval. And the CIP, every time the policy itself is to change, so if anybody on council wants to make a change to the policy, it must receive ministerial approval prior to being executed. So everything that's changed in the policy to the, if you change a tense, has to be approved. So it's important to get it right the first time.
Councillor Shabbat.
Okay, thank you, through you, Madam Acting Chair. I get the need to look at our official plan, but my question to you, being someone that's very close to that plan, so what are current deficits? Because for me, I try to look at our official plan as also looking forward. And when people ask me, as a council member, a simple question such as, where is this town going towards? If we need to grow, where is that growth going to come from? What area of town is that growth going to come from? Either be in the commercial sense or in the residential sense. I cannot answer that question, but I think that's something that the official plan should be really addressing. So what are the issues now? I know we need to review it, but you're very close to it. What are the current issues? Because I have no clue, maybe these guys do. If we need to grow as a town, where we should be, where is that direction? Is it Queen Street? Is it, I don't know, please.
Yep, through you, Acting Mayor. There are several. So if you look at, on a residential standpoint, there are several different areas that there are opportunities. The large thing that we need to take a look at is our availability and access to industrial lands, which is now becoming more limited with what we have access to readily available to us. And this will guide us in where we want to take those measures and come back to council to see what investment we need to make in order to make those a reality for the future. But yes, the official plan is our everything when it comes to planning. I do have our planning administrator here tonight that can answer some more specific questions, but the official plan is mandated. We put an official plan in place in, I believe, 2016. So we are now mandated to have this updated by 2026. So that's why it is before you tonight, so that it will take a year to have it completely reviewed and updated with ministerial approval before our deadline of 2026.
Our clerk has a supplemental.
Through you, Acting Mayor, to all of council. Also, you would have received a memo from my office surrounding the changes to the Planning Act, the Development Charges Act, and the provincial policy statement that was changed in 2024. Our official plan doesn't take into account the changes to legislation, so it must be updated, specifically the provincial policy statement, as there's significant impacts to the mandates, the objectives, and the values that you would be identifying in your OP. Right now, I can also speak that we've had, this administration's had a hard time correlating the mandates from the 2016 official plan with what the kind of decisions that have been happening from a planning perspective at the town. So revisiting those challenges will be a welcomed exercise between the administration and the council moving forward to best identify the mandate of this council.
Let's follow.
Councillor Shabbat.
Yeah, I'm just gonna follow up before the clerk. Yeah, I get it, but once upon a time, we had a lot of room over Archer Drive for industrial development. We all do that. Now, I don't think we have that much space at all for any industrial development. So this update in the official plan, I'd like to see something that will address that, to at least give us a direction as to where we need to grow in terms of any new industries coming to town, because that's very critical to the survival of this community. Right now, as you know, unless a land is relinquished, as we'll be talking about later on, we have no room for further development for any industrial growth in Archer Drive or anywhere that I'm aware of. Again, I don't know everything, but that's just for what I've seen around.
To Acting Mayor, you're absolutely correct. There does come a point, though, in our reality as a town, that there just isn't land available within our boundaries, correct? Like, unless we are looking to go through a rezoning exercise on some lands, but sometimes it just doesn't fit. Like, we don't want to be making, we want to make prudent planning decisions, and we don't want to be placing, you know, light industrial beside a residential or potential residential development. But the official plan will outline different areas and bring us up to date.
Councillor Kylie, you have your hand up.
Yeah, through you, your worship, relating to, Councillor Owen's, situation with this particular resident. Can an exception not be made if he came to council and we approved it?
No, CIP.
On the CIP?
Through you, Acting Mayor, no, the CIP is restrictive based on its geographical filing. And that is why one of the updates in the CIP is to open the geographic area. Kirkland Lake is very unique in the aspect that we have several commercial zones, where normally you have a very distinct retail and commercial zone, where we have several here in Kirkland Lake. And that is one of the huge objectives in the CIP update, is to open it geographically so that majority of our businesses would be able to take advantage.
Thank you.
CEO Alan Smith.
Through you, Acting Mayor, just to go back with Councillor Shaba's questions regarding growth, identifying areas of growth. Part of the OP process, we will be looking at which parts of towns should be growing, and all to plan growth accordingly will be through the ROP. And also with respect to the CIP and questions regarding hiring consultant, myself and the Director of Development Services, we do have a background in economic development and are familiar with the CIP. However, there's also staff resources and time, and the amount of research that needs to be done to provide an overhaul to the CIP will be quite a bit. With a consultant, they can identify best practices and therefore bring those innovative points and solutions to our current CIP. Our current CIP is pretty good, but as the director mentioned, there are some areas that do need to be reevaluated. And with our new economic development strategy, this is one of the priorities, is to revamp this CIP, and we'll have to do this in a timely manner. Thank you.
Councillor Owen.
Yes, through you, Acting Mayor. I just want to clarify one thing about the business I mentioned. He was bringing an issue to my attention. He was not bad-mouthing the town. He is a big supporter of Kirkland Lake. Obviously, he spent all that money. And just in case people do figure out who I'm talking about, I don't want anybody to think that he was, bad-mouthing the town staff or council. He was just pointing out an issue that if he'd been a block further along, he could have got a CIP.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So.
Any other questions from council? Would council like the resolution to be reread? No? All in favor? And opposed, motion carries. Having declared a conflict on the next item, Councillor Shaba, should be Councillor Chambers at 17:35. 5:35. Point 5. Cancellation of land sale transaction with CHAR Technologies Limited. Dan Levadure, Director of Development and Enterprise Services. Can I have a mover? Councillor Dykens and Councillor Owen. Thank you.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 DEV 002 entitled cancellation of land sale transaction with Char Technologies Limited be received, and finally that council cancel the sale of land described as Park Mining Claim. As Park Mining Claim L 1355 and Park Mining Claim L 6730 to Char Technologies Limited.
Good evening, Acting Mayor, through you to council. The report I have before you this evening is regarding the cancellation of a land sale agreement between the town of Kirkland Lake and Char Technologies Limited. Char Technologies had an open land purchase, as the clerk mentioned, on Park Mining Claim L 1355 and Park Mining Claim L 6730. Char Technologies has been in communications with the town since early 2021 in hopes of purchasing the above lands for a bioenergy project facility. As you see, circumstances have changed for Char Technologies in late 2024 and subsequently have stalled their project. The report outlines the need to seek approval of council of the proposed property to allow it to be placed back on the saleable lands list. Secondly, ongoing conversations are being held with NOHFC and FedNor regarding a funding application with the town to extend civil services to that said properties to allow for industrial growth to the above lands. Further details on that funding would be come through a future report. As I said, the conversations are ongoing. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Questions from council? Councillor Kylie?
Yeah, through your worship. I find this rather annoying. In 2021, we've held onto this property in reserve for them. And now they're walking away. It's rather ironic, but 2 years ago, a former councillor told me that these people are stalling and they're not a favorable corporation. And this deal will never go through. And it come to light that that's what's happening. So I think there should have been some restrictions on when this deal was gonna close. 3 or 4 years is a hell of a long time for them to meet the conditions. That's my feelings.
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor, to Councillor Kylie. I don't disagree. I find that a corporation such as Char could be anyone that is looking to get a project off the ground. The economics of accessing funds to accessing clientele and construction have drastically changed in the landscape over the last few years. But I can just let council know that this definitely wasn't a stall from the town. The town had done a lot of activities to make this a reality. And unfortunately, this is just a corporate change with Char Technologies.
Yeah, if I may comment further, we did a lot of hand holding on this. It's unfortunate that this is the end result, but it is what it is.
Councillor Owens?
Yes, through you, Acting Mayor. Needless to say, I'm not happy about this. It's interesting that there was a business person I talked to that bought her business in town probably about a year ago or just over a year ago. It's a pretty sizable business too. And she mentioned that Char Industry was coming here. that was a factor in her buying her business here, was that there was gonna be additional employment and growth. So from that perspective, I'm disappointed as well. But, and I've seen this before, I don't know the situation with Char, but I watched another company come into town. They didn't purchase land, but they were playing Kirkland Lake against Timmins against Sudbury to see who they could get the most money out of. And I know we've been very timid in the past because we always thought we couldn't attract industry here. So we've been very timid in the past about putting conditions on things like holding land. But I think the landscape has changed considerably. I mean, if you were to buy that piece of land in Brampton, Toronto, Georgetown, anywhere in southern Ontario, you could operate for years up here in the difference in price. I would like to see us start imposing a financial penalty on people that we're holding land for if they back out of the agreement. I know, well, as far as I know, it can be done legally. It's just a condition of sale, as far as I know. But at least that way, we're not holding the land for nothing. And 3 or 4 years later, the people walk away. You know, we're at least getting something back off that land. Now, our director may totally disagree with me, and that's fine, because he knows he's dealing with this kind of stuff day to day. And has hands-on experience as to whether or not that would be viable, but I think it's something we should look at.
Through you, acting mayor, to councillor, the reason that this comes before you tonight is the fact that we don't have a lot of saleable industrial land. And you are correct, the landscape has changed and is continually changing, and that land is very sellable. And we will be coming forth, I'm sure in the future with opportunities that we have here in Kirkland Lake, so.
Councillor Dykens.
To you, Madam Acting Chair, to the Director. It's similar to Councillor's question, but any person wanting to buy a piece of land, it doesn't get held for like, there has to be a down payment, or there has to be, is this the usual, I know you're new to the game, this situation, but is that the usual process in municipal, I guess, land sales?
Through you, acting mayor, this is not unusual in the fact that we had already entered into the agreement to purchase and sale. This is a situation where now the sale is being reversed and that we are not finalizing the sale. It's not, it wouldn't normally take this long to close the sale, but the circumstances which have changed, and that now that is why I come before you to ask that we reverse and finalize so that this property can go back to sale. But this project was quite substantially large, and it doesn't just happen overnight for a sale. It's not as straightforward as a residential sale.
I have to clarify. Through you to all of council. So the decision of council to sell the land is the reversal this evening. The municipality never technically executed the agreement of purchase and sale. That would have came to you in a separate report. Together with the authority for the mayor and I to sign that document. That document never was presented to the town. Just a direction of council to sell the land.
Councillor Kylie.
Yeah, through you, your worship. I agree with what Councillor Owen is saying. There's got to be some way when we're looking at sales of property with the extension of the closing date, that in this case, we didn't get an offer to purchase, I understand. We don't have a leg to stand on. But if there was a letter of intention with a deposit made, it's a little safer that they're not gonna walk away from their deposit and hold the company to go through with the purchase. So I think that's something we have to look at in the future.
Through you, acting mayor, we do have a new land sale policy that was brought forward. I just a point of caution when you're asking for a deposit from let's say a proposed corporation. Because we could run into the situation where then that land is being tied up for years and years and years on a company that is maybe never going to develop. So you're almost in a situation where it's could be just as bad. You're gonna have a corporation that's gonna own a large chunk of industrial land that maybe doesn't ever come into a situation where they're going to be able to develop. And then you're then waiting for them to dispose of that property. So we can definitely take a look with legal in adding a sizable deposit, should council wish. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows that could be a deterrent on the other side to the town.
Follow up?
Through you, your worship. I agree with what you're saying, but we can always put a time frame that this deal has to close within 2 years or whatever council felt. So I don't think it's impossible, but it's something we need to look at because this has happened more than once. Rick, as Rick mentioned, and it's frustrating as hell because we think we have a company coming and they're not coming, but we find out 3 years later. It's frustrating as hell. Thank you.
Alan?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I think we should just maybe dial it down regarding what our future revise of our policy or incorporating various tactics to our land sales. Also, I do want to mention too that it's not unusual for a municipality to entertain a company for 2 or 3 years and have that company walk away. And that's the nature of economic development, you know, and we cannot control what's happening with the company. But when it comes to actual putting changes in our processes, that can be discussed at a future time.
Councillor Owen?
Yeah, I believe this deal was done before our current director was in place. And I have every confidence that our current director will do his best to ensure that with or without a change in our policy, that this type of situation will be kept to a minimum or not happen at all. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we need to have the resolution reread? All in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Okay, Councillor Shabbat can return to council chambers.
Oh, you got that. Yes. Thank you, Councilor.
6.6, general bylaw housekeeping. Repeal authorization to execute sales of land for 3 McKelvey Avenue, 7 and 9 Main Street, 11 Comfort, 13 Balsam Avenue, 15 Comfort Street, 70 Balsam Avenue, and 72 Balsam Avenue. Jenna McNaughton, Planning Administrator. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Dykens and Councillor Kylie. Thank you.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 DEV 3 entitled General Bylaw Housekeeping, repeal authorization to execute sales of land for 3 McKelvey Avenue, 7 and 9 Main Street, 11 Comfort Street, 13 Balsam Avenue, 15 Comfort Street, 70 Balsam Avenue, and 72 Balsam Avenue be received. And finally, that bylaws 2433, 2434, 35, 36, 37, 38, and 39 be hereby repealed.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, through you to council. This is just a general housekeeping report so that we can have those bylaws repealed. Back in May, council had passed the bylaws to approve the sale of these lands due to the unsuccessful negotiations. Council did have the bylaws and the transaction canceled and the properties put back on our surplus land list. However, these bylaws were not actually repealed, so in order for us to entertain any new offers, we would just like to have this cleaned up. As we were going through our updates after our land sale policy, we just realized that we needed to have it cleaned up, so any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from council? None. Can I, all in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, consideration of notices of motion, there are none. Number 8, introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws, there are none. Number 9, questions from council to staff, there are none. Number 10, notices of motion. Councillor Owens.
Yes, I will be presenting a motion at a future meeting concerning safety concerns at the intersection of Allen Avenue and Second Street.
Sorry, safety concerns?
Yeah.
Pedestrian or more,
Okay,
motorized or pedestrian,
both,
both?
both motorized and pedestrian safety concerns.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have included that.
Duly noted. Number 11, councilors' reports, updates from council members. Moved by, I need a mover.
I'll move it.
Councillor Shava, seconded. Councillor Kylie, sorry. Any reports from councilors?
To you, Madam Acting Mayor, I just want to share this with everyone. I know every year we complain about snow removal. People always complain to us here and there, but seems to me this year is an exception to the rule. People are very much complimentary. They're very happy with the way things are going. So I just want to relay that to everyone and the staff as well. Good work. Keep it going.
Thank you, Councillor Shava. Any other reports?
Be it resolved that the verbal updates from members of council be received.
All in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Number 12, additional information, 12.1 proclamation, Bell Let's Talk Day. Can I have a mover? Councillor Owen. I need a seconder, Councillor Kylie. Town of Kirkland Lake proclamation, Bell Let's Talk Day, January 22nd, 2025. Whereas January 22nd marks the 15th annual Bell Let's Talk Day, a day to take action and create positive change for mental health. And whereas the Corporation of the Town of Kirkland Lake supports positive mental health for all citizens and members of our community and seeks to improve the lives of all citizens who will experience a mental illness or mental health issues in their lifetime. And whereas this year's campaign for Bell Let's Talk Day is raising awareness about the growing youth mental health crisis. And whereas in North Temiskaming, only 25% of girls and 40% of boys surveyed rated their mental health as good or very good, according to a Planet Youth report. And whereas all contributing municipalities in the Temiskaming District Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, along with local partners such as Planet Youth Temiskaming, Northeastern Public Health, Community Mental Health Association, Cochrane Temiskaming, and Northeastern Ontario Family and Children's Services are either supporters, promoters, and or service providers for the mental well-being of local youth and persons of all ages. And whereas the Town of Kirkland Lake recognizes that Bell Let's Talk Day marks the start of a new year to take action in mental health, a time to come together and show support for mental health in meaningful and impactful ways to help ensure all Canadians can access the mental health and addiction supports they need to flourish. And whereas the Town of Kirkland Lake raises a flag to celebrate Bell Let's Talk Day, lights its gateway signs and Miners Memorial site in blue. And whereas the Town of Kirkland Lake have engaged the local schools to join the conversation on Bell Let's Talk Day, promoting coloring sessions to reduce the stigma, as many mental health professionals recommend coloring as an effective way to practice mindfulness. And whereas all citizens of Kirkland Lake are encouraged to join the conversation, take action, keep listening, keep talking, keep being there, and to create positive change. Now, therefore, I, Janice Ranger, acting mayor of the town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025 as Bell Let's Talk Day in the town of Kirkland Lake and encourage support of this campaign.
Be it resolved that council sanction a proclamation for Bell Let's Talk Day, January 22nd, 2025 in the town of Kirkland Lake.
All in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Would everyone like a recess?
Yes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Thirteen closed session, I need a mover. Brett, Owen, and Jeff. Megan,
Be it resolved that council adjourn in camera at 6:07 PM pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss personal matters of an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on behalf of the municipality or local board for the following reasons. Item 13.1, housekeeping updates to various land sale files. And item 13.2, request for committee of council appointment. That is the planning advisory committee.
all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you and welcome back. We need a mover. Counselor Dykens, Counselor Owens,
Be it resolved that council reconvene in open session at 6:39 PM.
all in favor? Motion carried. 14 matters from closed session, 14.1 housekeeping updates to various land sale files. Item 4.1, I need a mover. Owen and Kylie, a seconder.
Be it resolved that council can cancel the following sale transaction, RSC 210 and North RSC 209 to Dalhousie Hussein, and finally that the said lands be added to the town's surplus land listing.
All in favor? Motion carries. 15, confirmation of bylaw, 15.1 bylaw number 25-003. I need a mover. Counselor Shaba. Seconder. Counselor Owen.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and a seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 25003 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, January 21st, 2025.
All in favor? Motion carries. 16, adjournment. Counselor Dykens move to adjourn this regular meeting of council at 6:41. All in favor? Oh, never mind.